one of my good mentors told me, whoever serves the most earns the most.
Yeah.
So it's just like when I heard that, so I'm like, you're telling me like the money, the like the success, the life comes from serving people. So in order for me to serve for somebody else, I have to serve myself as well.
Ooh.
So like it's that whole method of like, I can't pour into your cup if I don't have anything.
Yes.
And what I realized
that's good.
when I started like to get into the word, I'm like, God doesn't want to have a religious relationship with you.
No.
So now that I understand that, I can serve and pour into so many people, because guess who's pouring into me?
God. Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. People don't understand, like, because they're so like scared to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand what their story is going to do for somebody.
Yeah.
And like what I realized, like what built my confidence is like, I'm doing this for so many other people.
Yeah.
Let me start digging deep and do it for myself. Yeah. The biggest thing that people can understand is if you can learn from everybody, you'll 10x your success.
Right.
Very, very fast.
We are back on Create with Kate, and I have a very special guest, and I would consider him to be a good friend now. We've got to spend a lot of time together, and I really value his insight, his opinion, his expertise. He's just really tapped into his gift, and I feel lucky to just be to know him. And so welcome, Jamar, to the podcast all the way from Baltimore.
I appreciate that introduction, because it takes a lot to like understand that for yourself. But then when you hear from other people, it's just the best feeling in the world to like validate that. So thank you.
Well, that's my experience of you. And I've watched you with other people too in our community. And it's really, I don't know how to explain this, but there's certain people that you watch in their gift, and you know it's almost like supernatural or something, because you can just see the effect that you have on these people, and it's just different. It's just different than that. Maybe just because you're so genuine and you're so tapped into your creator. I don't know, but it's cool to see.
Yeah, like it really just boils down to like when you actually enjoy it. Like I enjoy seeing people like grow and like really just like grow that confidence within themselves to do anything.
Yeah, me too. That's probably why I love talking to you, because we both love those same things.
Yeah.
But so welcome. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. We're going to talk about content creation, building a personal brand, faith, confidence, and I mean, just so much. Finding your purpose. So it's going to be great. So, and then one last question. We'll put this on there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm on all platforms with my full name. So it's going to be Jamar Sims Jr. It's JamarSimms Jr.
Like Lamar with a J.
Like Lamar Jackson.
Focusing on the problem, right? Not the solution.
Yeah, so like the biggest thing that I would say is with social media today, everybody's trying to talk about the solution. So like with anything, like the more you talk about something, the more like diluted it is. Like meaning like it doesn't like move people anymore. So the thing I would say, like when I coach a lot of people, is instead of trying to just give people the solution and just shove it down their throat and tell them things that they already know. Yeah. Because people already know what they have to do. They just have to focus on like, what do I need to do to get there? Right. So the biggest thing that I say when you create content is instead of focusing on like, let me give them the solution, let me give them the problems that they go through so they can ask me for the solution. Okay. Because like, what do you think is going to impact people more if they ask you the question or you just give them the answer?
So let's like kind of do a role play with this. So let's say I'm struggling with camera confidence. Like every time I go to film a video on my phone, I keep redoing it. Yeah. And then it's like next thing you know, it's 2 hours have gone by. I have, cut, edit, and then I end up deleting the whole thing because I'm like, this is terrible. Yeah. And I wasted 2 hours of my day.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I would say, like for me too, because I had a speech coach because I had a speech impediment. The biggest thing that I say is if you want to have a career in like creating content, you need a coach in anything. Just like Michael Jordan has a coach or anything like that. It's the same thing. So like when you're going through that process, you need a coach that's going to help you like go through this process to like see what you're doing, because we
overanalyze
everything. Yeah. So it's like you can't be your coach and the player.
Right.
So like when you're going through these process of like creating content and you're struggling, people got to realize like your struggles are the same thing that other people are going through.
Yeah.
But it's something like around that. Like once you get through that, that's where your value is.
That's true. That's a good point. In your opinion, since you work with a lot of creators and you do a lot of research, right? What do you think are the ingredients that make up a great creator?
A great creator
that has great engagement, not necessarily like whoever has the largest following, but just like the most impact, can convert the most leads, if you will, because they have such an engaged community. Yeah.
So I think what creates a great creator has nothing to do about finances, nothing to do about like your story.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with that, because everybody has their own story.
Sure.
The biggest thing is one word: clarity.
Okay.
The more clarity you have in anything, I could be a cook. If I know more food about you, well, like more about food than you do, you're going to value my opinion, because I can tell you something that you don't know.
Right.
So the more clarity you have, the better a creator that you're going to be. So that's the biggest thing.
As far as like clarity, because I think that makes perfect sense. This is like communicating, right? Through video.
Yeah.
And so how do we communicate clearly, like you said? Why do you think people struggle to communicate clearly?
I feel like, this is me speaking. I feel like 90% of people in the world don't know who they are.
Yeah.
They don't know what they want to do. They just know the fruits that they want.
That's true.
They want success. They want the big house.
Yeah.
They want a family.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is like, okay, cool. That's great that you know what you want. The biggest thing is like, what steps are you going to take to get there?
Right. So I feel like what you're really good at is serving people.
Yeah.
And just seeing who's in front of you in each moment.
Yeah.
I guess you're present.
Yeah.
And you can see people and you try to give them, you just try to help and serve them however you can.
Yeah. So let's break that down. Why that is.
Yeah. Let's break it down.
Because it's about clarity, right? So it's time for me to be vulnerable. When I grew up.
Oh, I like that. So it's time for me to be vulnerable. I like how you just said that. It sounded like it was like the beginning of a song. It's time for me to be vulnerable.
Yeah. But like the beautiful thing, right? So I started working with a guy named Mike.
Yeah.
And I was the type, when it came to like faith, God, right?
Yeah.
I looked at it from like such a religious standpoint, and it was just like, I mean, I can't do wrong.
It's not very inspiring when you look at it in that way.
And like just growing up in Baltimore, the only time we went to church was when we went to Easter. So
sure.
So it's just but like to get straight to the point, when I look at myself, because like the reason why I'm servant based is because I've heard somebody say like one of my good mentors told me whoever serves the most earns the most.
Yeah.
So it's just like when I heard that, so I'm like, you're telling me like the money, the success, the life comes from serving people. So in order for me to serve for somebody else, I have to serve myself as well.
Ooh.
So like it's that whole method of like, I can't pour into your cup if I don't have anything.
Yes.
And what I realized
that's good.
When I started like to get into the word, I'm like, God doesn't want to have a religious relationship with you.
No.
So now that I understand that, I can serve and pour into so many people, because guess who's pouring into me?
God. Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. So
it's
just like when I realized that, I'm like, man, like I have an unlimited supply of love.
Yeah.
So let me do that with something that I have clarity in, that I've experienced, because it's just like,
is that making you emotional?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I can feel it.
It's a beautiful thing, because people don't understand, like, because they're so like scared to be vulnerable. They don't understand what their story is going to do for somebody.
Yeah.
And like what I realized, like what built my confidence is like, I'm doing this for so many other people. Yeah. Let me start digging deep and do it for myself. And when I did that, I'm just like, my business changed. My relationships changed. everything around me, the way people look at me. So like if
because you saw yourself differently.
Exactly.
And through God's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I'm stunned right now because they're like, and then I feel like, you know how they say we're mirrors for each other?
Mm-hmm.
Like what you see in someone else it's also in you.
Yeah.
And I feel that with you a lot, like, is like, okay, you're inspiring me. What am I supposed to see? What am I seeing in you that I need to see in myself? Yeah. Right. Because I think as creators or as human beings, it's easier for us to see greatness in others.
Yeah.
But that greatness is also within us. That's why we can recognize it. Right.
And
I don't know. That's my belief.
No, yeah. Like 1,000%. And where people fail or they flourish is if they pour that into other people.
Yes.
So like that's where it comes with like association.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people talk about association. Why?
Right.
So if you're around people that are pouring into you the same way that you're pouring into them.
And then it's a ripple effect.
It's something that
have you seen that motivational speech by Denzel?
What was it going like?
He says something like, something about how, you serve, you achieve success, you turn around, you grab someone else.
Yeah.
You teach someone every time. Like you can't just keep going and not turn around and help.
Yeah.
Like something about that. I'm messing it up, but something to that effect.
Like that's a huge thing because like we got to understand we're not going to live forever. Mm-hmm. So like the legacy that we leave is based off of like the amount of people that we impact and like
what you put in their heart.
Exactly.
Yeah. He also says that too. He says you can't take it with you.
And like the reason why I like to throw God into this a lot is because when you hear people say the same thing and it feels the same, it's not from us. So like the same thing that I talked about is people got to understand who's pouring into them. Mm-hmm. God communicates through people every single day.
Yeah.
And like the reason why we get that sense of hope or like that feeling of like I resonate with that.
Yeah.
Is because it's written on on our hearts. So it's a beautiful thing.
So okay, so like Create with Kate, the name, the way it came to life was Brian told me to come up with my podcast name and do it in 24 hours. Oof. So the honest answer is like, this sounds kind of good. I think it kind of rhymes. Let's go with it. Yeah. And then as I was thinking about it more, I'm like, it's way beyond content creation, what I talk about. Because I think for me, what makes a great creator, and it sounds like we're saying the same thing, is when you connect with your creator, which is God, right? Yeah. So if you connect with your source and the one that created you so uniquely with such special gifts that only you have, there's no other you, there's only one. If you can have that relationship with him and ask him to work through you and surrender. So maybe less control, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, don't be trying to control everything, which now I'm like taking my own advice because, oh my God. But that's what makes a good creator, because then you can feel it, like you're saying. Yeah. You can just feel a different energy because it's the ultimate creator. It's not even us.
Yeah. And like the reason why like you have that feeling that you can't explain is because you're no longer leaning on your own understanding.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so good. Wow. That's crazy. Okay, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Mike, because I don't normally ask this question, but I felt compelled to ask him. And it was a really good question. It turned out to we had a great discussion around this. So you have a little boy. Yeah. And he's how old? He's
actually, on the 4th, he's going to be 14 months. So like right over a year.
Oh,
okay, yeah. So
today?
Yep, so he's 14 months.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So, wait, the 4th, when's his birthday?
April 4th. What?
My birthday's April 5th.
That's crazy.
And I have this thing with 4s. 444. I saw that like 2 years ago. I would see everywhere. 444 everywhere. I'm like, why am I seeing these 4? I look it up. It means your angels are with you. And that's the day your son was born.
Yeah, so like for me, it was like my birthday is August 4th and his is April 4th. So
that's my ex-husband. Stop it. That's my ex-husband's birthday.
That's
August
crazy.
4th. Yeah.
Leos.
Yeah. That's wild. So you're 8-4.
And he's
4-4. Wow. Okay. That was my question was going to be, wow, that's so crazy. I love birthdays. I'm like really, when's Mike's birthday? Do you know?
I think it's August 27th.
Okay.
Like
It's in August. Okay. So what I was going to say is your son, when you, well, I feel like children are so intuitive. And I think that's because they just came from God, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't have this armor on, right? That we develop over time as we grow up. So has there been a moment with him where it's almost like you see, I guess, God through his eyes?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say the biggest thing, especially with my boy, is like the biggest thing that I see in him is like joy. Like just imagine, like, for yourself, if you never had to wonder where your next meal was coming.
Yeah.
Wondering how these bills are getting paid. The only thing that you can worry about is having a good time. So like for kids, especially for him, it's just like, for me as a parent, I just got to provide the example for him. Nothing else. Like if I provide the example, not only am I going to be financially okay, my relationship's going to be okay, but me as a father, I have to show him what it's like to love himself, but also how to love his mother, which is going to transfer into how he loved women.
Ooh, that's good.
So it's like the way I see God in my son is he's joyful. He has no fear in his heart, and he tries whatever he feels, and he's going to continue to develop.
So maybe that's how we should all live, right?
God
because
tells
if we
us
have
to
a
have a
relationship
childlike
with God, then we should just trust him.
Yeah.
That we're going to be provided for.
Yeah, because what the enemy wants us to think is we have to do everything. We have to figure it out.
Yep.
And that just goes right back into leaning on our own understanding, which creates depression, anxiety.
Yeah. Right.
Trying to like figure it out, like shut down.
Yeah.
That's what he wants us to do, because like we all hear like we're all one, but we don't utilize that. So like when like people have bad times, like for yourself, anytime business got bad or like whatever it was, first thing for us to do that, like we think is right. Like, let me shut down. Let me figure myself out. Let me blame myself instead of taking like learning from it and like moving past it.
Right. I think some of my greatest, well, no, I don't think I know. My greatest life lessons have been in my darkest moments. And I just know, like, I know in those moments, I've always thought like, okay, there has to be a reason for this. Like, there has to be a reason. What am I going to learn from this? And where is this taking me?
Yeah.
And I've learned something. I have, from every situation, and every situation has led me to the next lesson. And I also believe you continue to be faced with the same lesson until you learn from it. Like, I think it just keeps presenting itself in front of you. Yeah. Or at least for me in my life, that's been true.
I seen this podcast with this philosopher, and he said emotions are the same thing as equations. And like what that means is like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Plus, how did it make me feel?
Yeah.
Plus, what did I do to get over it? And now how do I feel?
Yeah.
So like when we process that, we can do that the same way as we create content.
Right.
What did I go through? How many people do I think like went through that?
Yeah.
How did it make me feel when I was going through that? And then now, okay, cool. This is the good part.
Yeah.
What did I do to like process that? And now how do I feel knowing that I overcame that?
Yeah.
So when people start thinking of like that way of like, let me create content that way.
Yeah.
So like going back to your one point of like, how do we convey that into a message? Right.
Yeah. You know, as you're saying that, it sparks a thought in me of, if I were say go back 6 years or so, and I can remember at that time I was working at Starbucks, and And I remember I just had this feeling like, okay, there's something else out there for me that I'm supposed to be doing, but I didn't know what it was. Okay.
Right.
And I had a lot of limiting beliefs, but they didn't feel good. Like I just knew there was something else, but I just didn't know what it was.
How,
and I remember
how they feel?
It was like suffocating, like a feeling of I'm trapped almost. But this is what happened to me. So I started to search, because I think that's what we do. We seek to understand, right? Mm-hmm. And so I started reading some books, and there was this one book that I read by Gabrielle Bernstein, and I can't remember the name of it, but I think it might have been The Universe Has Your Back. Okay. And it said in there something about how every single person that you encounter throughout your day, think of them as teachers, and you're in a classroom and these are all your teachers. And if you start to pay attention and you start to connect, all these teachers will give you the answer to your problem, right? So I'm like, okay. So I would go into work, and I had that attitude of, okay, I'm going to enjoy being here, and these are all my teachers, and I'm going to learn from them. And so then when I started to be open, I guess, to that, then I would get messages, or I'd have these connections. And one guy like led me to search for something else, right? Like or another book. And then that led to another thing and another thing. And me just having this like open awareness led me to the career change that I was looking for. Yeah. But it started with like that, I guess like a seed was planted, and I had to like believe that the answer was going to be, I had to have faith, essentially, is what I had to do. So I felt this feeling of dis-ease, I guess. And I'm like, this isn't where I'm supposed to be in the long run. This is where I'm supposed to be right now. Yeah. But not forever. But in order for me to figure out where I need to go, I guess I just have to trust. And I was trusting in God. I didn't know it at the time, right? So it was the universe has your back. I was more spiritual than with my walk with God, but it's all the same thing. And
like a lot of people go through that without realizing, but let me give you one thing that like he revealed to me, and like just gives me so much peace. Anytime that like you're doing the right thing, but you can't fully explain it. You like you always say, I don't know, but it's just like
feels right.
It feels right.
Yeah.
That discernment doesn't come from anybody but him.
Right.
So like with understanding that, like just knowing it like if you have pure intentions, pure at heart, and your servant base, he's gonna put you with divine connections, meaning like you're gonna meet people that never came from your ability. Yes. Or people that you knew where you came from. And then from there, the beautiful thing about it. At me
like that. I'd be like, yes, that's so true.
Yeah, like once people understand that, like he's gonna put people in my life that are getting me out of this situation. Like he's gonna provide. Yes, at the moment I don't have to do anything, but that doesn't mean being idle. No. That means continuing to be pure in your relationships, continue to serve at what you're good at, and continue to self-develop.
Well, and I think for me, one of the biggest things was, I was literally making lattes. I was literally serving people, right? Their beverages.
I love coffee.
Now, there's a difference though, and you know this too. Anybody knows this when they go to get a coffee, when they go to a restaurant. I don't care where you go, anywhere you're going to get a service, right? Yeah. You have a lot of people that will go through the motions, right? They did their job. They made your latte. You got what you paid for, right? But then there's some people that just connect with you, and they want to make you, like we used to say, made with love. Like I made this with love, right? Like they pour their heart into what they're doing. And I think that's the difference of where your life changes. So I don't care if you're washing a car. I don't care if you're making a latte. I don't care if you're making content, whatever it is. Like, are you going to pour your heart into it, or are you just going to go through the motions? Yeah. Because that's the difference.
And like the beautiful thing about it is like, this could be anything. So like lattes, it could be anything. Like a funny story on how I met one of my like today my favorite client came from me. Like, so like this is like a real story of divine connections.
Yeah.
So one of my clients, Mike, he had a prophecy over him like 4 or 5 months before we even ever talked before.
I know. He told me in the podcast. It was so good.
And
go listen to that episode.
And this prophet talked about he's going to be huge in media. He's going to have somebody that's going to come into his life and help him amplify through a camera. And like from my standpoint, I'd never met this guy in my life or anything. But one of these prayers that I had in my life is I'm not happy where I am because I came out of like a bad relationship in business. Like I had to start all the way over.
Yeah.
And I just prayed like, I know what my gift is. I know what I'm passionate about and I know what I love. So as long as it's in your will, show me the way. And I met a comedian, went to a comedy show for the first time, took my dad, and I did all of this work for free. Yeah. And like the person that I went to, I don't know if you know him, but the guy's name is Vontae. He was in Baltimore, like one of the biggest comedians. I went because I knew him, but just in my spirit to like serve, right?
Yes.
Without asking anybody, I ended up taking pictures of all of the comedians just to network. Yeah. Because I'm like, I need to do something. So what that turned into, it's another comedian by the name Manny. And Manny, we went out one day because he loved the pictures and he's just like, dude, like I've never seen someone's work like this good.
That's what I know. That's what I said about you earlier today.
It's not through my own ability.
Yeah, so good.
So what that turned into is like we went out to eat one day, got some happy hour, you know how that goes, and we had a great conversation. And like he was just more so inspired by my vision because he didn't really have the capacity to like understand like where is this coming from? Why is this dude so smart? Like why is he just has it? Long story short, Manny was the one that introduced me to Mike.
Okay.
And what's crazy is like the job that he was at, he hasn't worked with Mike for probably 4 or 5 years, but for some reason he went back and started working with Mike.
Okay.
And like just from there, like that just came full circle of like, I don't know where I would be if I didn't take them pictures. Right. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, because it's all those like little moments that add up. And yeah, that's okay. You said something before that. What was it that you said? It made me think of something about, I'm losing my train of thought now, but you had said something before it's about doing things for free. No, that wasn't it.
So like,
you said something else.
I was saying something along the lines is like, as long as you keep your intentions pure, like you're focusing on like serving, like through reps and everything like that, like just with sales, like it's a numbers game. Sure. It's the same thing that applies with like your faith and like your own ability. So like you just got to continue to be who you want to be, do the right things and continue to like self-develop because what's going to happen is.
Oh, it came back to me. Yes. Self-develop. And you were talking about you didn't love what you were doing. Yeah. That's what it was. And I thank you for going back through that because that made me think. So why do you think so many people don't love what they do?
I feel like people don't love what they do because they feel like they have to do it.
Why do you feel like they feel like they have to do it?
We're in a society right now where 85% of people in the world live paycheck to paycheck, meaning they have under $2,000 in their bank account. Yeah. And the reason why is because you're not you're not fulfilling your purpose. You're leaning on your own understanding, meaning you think you know what's right to provide for your family and like sit at this job and do something that you hate because you feel like you need it. The only thing you need is a relationship with God and he's continuously seeking you. You just got to receive it.
Wow. That's okay. I think that's exactly right. And I think it's really interesting. And this is something that's always bothered me. People go to a job they hate, right? Yeah. They don't support the mission, but they're there every day because they think they have to be to pay their bills, right? What a terrible feeling and what an internal struggle. That's why you feel the way you feel, right? Like that's why I felt frustrated. It's because I'm like, this isn't in alignment with my purpose.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the purpose was yet, but I knew it wasn't in alignment.
You know, it didn't feel right.
Didn't feel right. And there's many situations, like Starbucks has a great overall mission statement that I can support and be behind, which is to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, one neighborhood at a time. But a lot of people, my point is, a lot of people work for a company where they don't support the mission, or they don't, they just don't agree with how they operate their business, but they stay there. So you're being a hypocrite by doing that. And the only reason you stay is because of fear. Yeah. When I believe, and I know because it's been true for me, if I only stand behind things that I believe in, and I don't ever sacrifice my beliefs and stand behind something else because of fear, then God always provides. So we have to stop being so afraid to not stand up for what we believe in. And then a step further, we have to know what we believe in. I think some people just don't even know what they believe in.
And I feel like that's where we're at in like today's, like, I feel like I've been called to like be a content like creator, but also help people become like better content creators is because in today's society, the reason why we feel like we're so lost is we got to pay attention to who has the influence in the world right now. Yeah. Influencers, streamers. It's nothing wrong with that, but we got to look at history. History was we innovated because we had specialists in specific things. Yeah. And what's happening now, like being a creator, you can play video games and you could just live your life, be yourself and be successfully you can be successful. But the biggest thing is like when people become successful, like for everybody that's touched money, right? Like you've made money before. We all know you learn on how to manage like your money by blowing it. Sure. Yeah. And like that's for me personally. But what I really think is like if the people that have the most influence don't self-develop, we're going through a time where that like millions of people are influenced by them and they don't even know how to like provide the same amount of value of like what we need as like the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So as a parent, and now your boy's, he's still pretty young, but I'm sure you'll agree with us. The older that they get, so mine are 8 and well, my daughter will be 11 in 4 days. But something that's really important for me, and I've tried to instill this into them, is I want them to have their own opinions. Yeah. Even if they're different than mine. That's big. You know, I want them to feel empowered to express themselves to anyone. Yeah. And not be ashamed, not be afraid to share how they feel. Now, not everyone has to agree with that, and they need to respect that too, right? Yeah. But there's nothing worse than creating a bunch of people pleasers. Yeah. People that don't know how to stand up for themselves, people that don't know what they believe in because they're just told, look, I'm above you. You do what I say. That's it. That's not how we should be parenting. Yeah. That's not how we should be teaching. We should be empowering people to express themselves. We should empower them to stand up. Hey, what do you stand for? Yeah. What do you want to be known for? If you die tomorrow, who's going to remember you and for what? And like, I think people like need to really understand that because it's a difference between soft parenting and actually empowering your kid. Yeah. Because people might think it's debating, but it's not, because at the end of the day, you let them give their opinion so you can educate them. Yeah. What parents do is they try to shut down and shut their kid up instead of giving them the solution. Right. Or it's just tell. Yeah. Or it's like my way, no way. And I'm not saying that it's wrong for telling your kids what's right and what's wrong, but explain it and then give the solution. Because if you're solution based as a parent, as a mom or a dad, you'll never have to debate with their kid. Yeah. Because they're going to come to you for this, like. Right. Well, and you're teaching them, like, because this is what I say too. Okay, if you have an idea that's different than mine or a suggestion, right? Well, tell me why, like give me the reasoning behind it, right? So it gets them to also think, okay, well, why do I feel this way? Yeah. And sometimes my daughter has presented a case And I'm like, you know what? Actually, you're right. But that's allowing her to critically think.
Yeah, because when she gets in like today's world,
yeah,
she's not going to depend on someone else's understanding to like validate her point.
Right.
Because she's practicing.
Because she's practicing. Yeah. So we need to teach that instead of just teaching people. It's almost like we're suppressing people to not express themselves, because then everyone's got to be the same, right? You just got to fit in when no, you're born to stand out, right? There's only one of you.
1000%.
And then, a bunch of people that don't know how to, like, there's nothing wrong with standing up for what you believe in. And I think you can do that in a loving, respectful way. Yeah. I don't think it is like a negative thing at all. And when you look at your, like, especially your son, he's still so little, right? Like, and so free. Yeah. It's like you want, and you know that life, they're like that. So I love kids at like the age of 3 because they start talking, right? Yeah, gibberish. Yeah. But then like you can understand them. They're super independent. They want to do everything on their own, even though they kind of can't, you know? Yeah. And they're so creative. Like I think they're the most creative actually at 3 years old because they're not concerned with judgment. Yeah. And then judgment kicks in, and then we kind of like start to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And then it's like, that's what we're helping people do, is like revive that spirit of like the child in them. Right. Yeah. So I just, but imagine your little boy, you see him now and you see like all the wonderful things about him and what he could be. Yeah. And then imagine him at 15, right? And it's like, you don't even know who he is because the world got to him. Yeah. And you just see this sad little boy. Like this does bother me, because I think how many with like these shootings and stuff, it's usually like young men, right? Yeah. And I always think, what happened? What happened to that young man?
I feel like the biggest thing, like just because like me growing up in Baltimore, it's just like I feel like how that happens is if they don't have a balance from their mother and their father. Oh. So like to get deep real quick. A mother's job is to provide emotion, teaching them how to deal with their emotions. The father is there for logic, reasoning, and solution. Okay. So like when you understand that as partners, let's say like.
Did you have a mother and a father in the home?
Yes. Okay. So like for me, I understood how to not only like react to my emotions, but address them. Okay. Why does this make me feel this way?
That's pretty good. I mean, because I feel like, so your parents taught you that? Yeah. Okay.
And like from my dad, he just always was like the logic behind everything of like the reason why you don't like take others' validation to prove your point is because when people are against you, you don't even believe in yourself anymore. Ooh, yeah. So like just having that balance, but I think the imbalance when it comes to shootings, when it comes to things like that, and it comes from both sides. So I wouldn't even say a dad's more important or a mom's more important because let's look at it from like a guy that didn't grow up with a dad. He has no logic, no reasoning. So he either searches for that, self-develops, or he just thrives off of emotion. Vice versa, if a guy grows up without a mom and he grows up with a dad, he's all logic and solution without addressing his emotions. Yeah. And like we see that in every man. So like if they have that balance, then you can see it. But if they don't have that imbalance, people don't understand like where it's coming from.
So what would you say to the people that don't, maybe they just have one parent or maybe they don't have either parent?
Yeah. So the beautiful thing about like social media, world, life, we're in an age right now where we have a lot of coaching, a lot of mentors, a lot of these things. And like for me personally, I love my family. But when it comes to finances, business, any of that, I couldn't find the solution for my family because I'm the most successful in my whole bloodline. Okay. Nobody's ever ran a business. They all work jobs. They're not satisfied, which it's nothing wrong with that. Sure. I can only blame them for the good that they've gave me. Yeah. But like I said before, you have to be the one to seek the information. Okay. It's not just going to come to you. Yes, we can have faith, but it's action that you personally have to take to be able to have the capacity to retain your blessing. So like one thing that I've heard that like it really sticks with me is like prep and get ready. So when your time does come, you don't fumble.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
That was a big football analogy.
Yeah. No, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think using sports is helpful for people to understand, right? Like, because, like you don't go and win the Super Bowl if you don't train.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like sports saved my life, honestly, because like just how I grew up, growing up in Pop Warner, playing football and staying with football.
Yeah.
The kids that I grew up with that like didn't stay into football, they're either not here anymore or they're in jail. And like that's the reality of it. But with sports, not only does it teach you like it gets you very uncomfortable. Yeah.
Right.
Discipline, team camaraderie, like leadership. And like it challenges you every day. Like you're going to have a different team that you got to go against. It's going to be like different formation. Like it's so much stuff that like, but to like simplify it, it's really like you're learning more about yourself through the sport. What am I not good at?
Yeah.
But then more importantly, when you start getting better, you're like, now I'm good at that.
Yeah.
And you apply them same things to business, life, relationships.
So what questions could somebody ask themselves? Like if somebody's listening and they're just like, I understand I need to get clear with my message. And, but what could they ask themselves? What questions could they ask to kind of figure that out? Yeah.
So that's actually a question that I get from a lot of the people that I work with. They're like, dude, like, how do I like make myself known on social media? The biggest thing is you got to get deep with yourself and very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What's the way I ask it is like, what's the most traumatic things that you've ever been through before? How did it make you feel? So like, for an example, let me just create an example. Let's say, for an example, the most traumatic thing that I've ever been through before is my parents went bankrupt and like they lost the home.
Okay.
I got to dig deeper of like, how did that make me feel? How did that make me react? And how did I overcome it?
Okay.
Because when people understand that didn't happen to me, that happened for me so I can impact people.
Yeah.
So like once you understand that, you find the solution that everybody's looking for. But you do it by, this is like what I've been through. This is how it made me feel. And this is how I got over it. Because people know how they feel. They know what they've been through.
Yeah.
They're just seeking that last thing of like, what do I do to get out of it?
Right.
So like when people go through things, address it, like love that you've been through that because there's so much more stuff behind it that's going to like help you like create generational wealth.
So, okay. So say they do that exercise and they're like, okay, I know what I've been through. I know it was traumatic. I know how it made me feel. All right. Now share that with people. And then they say, well, I can't share that. That's too vulnerable.
Yeah. So from a standpoint, I'm going to keep asking them why. So they either convince themselves that they got to do it or they're convinced themselves that they're not going to do it. I don't try to sell people on like, you can do it just because you say that.
Yeah.
You got to convince me the same way that you got to convince yourself, because one thing that I'm not going to do is I'm not going to let anybody waste their time.
Yeah.
Because we all know time's not promised for anybody.
Right.
So the biggest thing is address if that's you. If it's not, that's okay. Because when people think about social media, they think I got to be the one on the camera. I got to do this. I got to do that.
Yeah.
It's so many different ways that not only can you post content, but you can get monetized millions away on social media. But people don't understand like everything that you can do. So like that goes back to like having a coach that can really like teach you these things and like direct you in a way of like where you want to go. The more clarity you get, the better you'll be.
Yeah. And I think, you know, sometimes when I mean, I know from my own personal experience, like I had this desire to create and help people. I mean, I think we all have a desire to help people. We all want to make a contribution. Yeah. It's like a basic human need. But you have a desire and you don't really, like, you can kind of see the vision, right? But you can't see it entirely. So you can kind of get frustrated because you're just like, I don't know. I know I want this. I don't necessarily know why yet. But I know I want that. But I'm frustrated because I can't see all the steps to take. But like all you have to see is one step. Yeah. And then another step. Right. But I think that people tend to just get so frustrated with not being able to see like the entire path or staircase, I should say. And then they give up. but you really don't have to see it all. You just have to keep going, because content evolves too. Don't you think, like, over time? It's like today is, you may be sharing one thing, but in 5 years from now, that could look different.
Yeah. That's 1,000%. Like, content changes every single day. It's never going to be the same.
Right.
And like, the biggest thing is, like, content is made to get influence. Like, we're playing a game of influence. How many eyes can we get? How many likes can we get? That's just one word of, like, influence. So like, when you're creating content, you, like, once you understand, like, I want to have influence on people on this specific thing. Once you figure that out, it's just a matter of, like, digging deeper on, like, how you got good at this. And like, that's where telling your story, being vulnerable, testimonials. So it's a simple system that everybody does. Like, nobody's doing anything different. The only difference is they have more revenue to get more eyeballs, which we know is ads. But we're doing the same thing. Everybody's doing the same exact thing. The blueprint is, like, not different for somebody that's making $100 million, somebody that's making nothing. The biggest thing is what they're amplifying, like, the team they have and what they're doing consistently.
What are your thoughts on these people that pay for real engagement, but it's not, like, really their followers? Like, they're real people, but it's not, they're paying for them to, you know, create engagement. So
the biggest thing I would say about, like, paid for engagement, because I have clients that paid for engagement. I have some that did it organically. It's an identity crisis if you're paying for engagement before you understand what you want to post. Meaning, like, engagement could be a great thing, but you won't understand if it's valuable if you haven't got engagement before you pay for it.
Totally agree. I'm very against it. Yeah. For mainly, the main reason is it's inauthentic. Yeah. And how do you build a personal brand? Well, you build it from trust. Well, how's someone going to trust you if you're fake? Yeah. And back to that point, if you pay for engagement, but you don't understand who your audience is, you're wasting your time. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because then how do you properly serve? You can't track anything that's fake. Right? Yeah. Because you don't know what they need more of. You don't. You don't know what they like because you're getting the same thing. Exactly. So I think I'm, like, a firm believer in, and I know this is true too, because it's worked for me. When I was just doing real estate and selling, you know, helping people buy and sell homes, I had, like, 900 followers. Yeah. And 90% of my business was from my Instagram. So you don't need a massive following. You need engaged people that that trust you. Yeah. And that don't think you're phony. And it's not even necessarily trust. Like, I tell people all the time, it's 3 reasons why somebody follows you. It's either because you're creative. Yeah. You have a lot of, like, you're very smart, you can educate them, or they just genuinely like you as a person. Yeah. Yeah. But, like, once you understand that, it's like, okay, cool. Where do I fit in? Let's say it's my creativeness, right? Yeah. I'm going to, like, focus on not putting out quantity, but I'm going to put out quality. Yeah. Very good edits, very good shots, whatever it is. But if I'm somebody that's educational, I could do it on my iPhone, put some words on it, and based off the value that I provide to people, they're going to be educated. Or I could just be someone like yourself, like, bubbly, happily. Like, bubbly. Every time that somebody sees Kate, they're going to laugh because they're like, Kate just is always on 100. So, like, once people address that, they're not tied towards the engagement. They're just like, more people just need to see me. That's it. Yeah. Once you understand, like, more people need to see you, but this is a big thing. Once I learned this about social media, this was, like, the biggest thing that changed my business. Okay. So when people think about social media, they think about likes, they think about engagement, right? From, like, an indirect marketing standpoint. People have to understand, if you want to gain a huge following, you want to get monetized and get paid thousands of dollars, your influence, your community, your, like, people that, like, are inspired by you, it's going to come from what you do in person. Yeah. Meaning, like, I could be someone that never goes outside, but I have 30,000 followers. Right. It doesn't mean anything. You're not going to grow. You're not going to do anything. My followers grow based off of when I fly out to different places, shake more hands. Yeah. And that's my business card. Instagram, when people ask, hey,
you got a business card? I'm like, yep, it's not laminated and it's free. It's right here.
Right.
And like once
That's
people,
the best thing you can do too. I agree. Don't exchange phone numbers. Get Instagram.
I give people my Instagram because you do the same thing. You can FaceTime me, call me if you got an Android, Apple, and that's what it is. But when people understand, you have to have influence in person before you have it online.
Okay, that's big. I like that. Actually, let's travel down this topic for a minute because I think this is important.
Yeah.
Because when I'm coaching people, and for those of you that don't know, well, I guess I'll say it in the intro, cut this part out, but we do kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
You're definitely more talented though on the technical side of the production because, you helped me set up my cameras because I didn't even know how to do that.
Process.
I just help people with ideas and personal branding. But okay, so when I'm coaching people on, okay, what kind of content do I make? I can't come up with any ideas, right? First thing I say is, what do your coaching calls look like? Or what do you, depending on what they do, right?
Yeah.
Like walk me through a coaching call. And then we dissect that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what you need to share. Is like, how are you helping people in real life?
Yeah.
Like that's the same, it's the same thing. We're just translating that into video. And
even if you're not a person that's like, I really haven't helped anybody, that's okay. What are you known for?
Yeah, another great question.
Are you funny? Are you talented?
Yeah.
Like for me, once I got out of football, I was just known for being strong. So what do I do? Start posting fitness. Okay. That's all I did for a while. Like had no followers, probably like around like 2,000 followers around that time. But just because me posting consistent gym content, one of these days I just decided on wearing a champion shirt.
Yeah.
Champion comments on my post and repost it, and like that's what like started to create like people actually going on my page and like gained a bunch of followers and things like that. But it's like, that's it. Like once you understand, like, what am I known for if I'm not like known for influence? Everybody has something that they're known for.
For sure.
So like once you establish that, that's what I'm telling somebody. So like not like, oh, what have you helped people with? Because some people are like, I haven't helped anybody with anything. Yeah. I can't even help myself.
Yeah, right.
But it's okay. Like anybody can be successful online because you're known for something.
Yeah. But well, I think, and I believe everyone does help someone. They just may not know how to identify it. Yeah. But we're all helping people.
1,000%.
Every day you're helping people, whether you know it or not. Yeah. I mean, one thing you say, you could run into somebody at a gas station and say one thing to them and that could help them. I think people just underestimate their influence. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's funny. You make a good point, though, because when I was strictly doing real estate full time and I'd get a lot of my business from Instagram, I'd always ask people like, well, why did you reach out to me instead of another realtor? Right. And every time they'd say the same thing. It had nothing to do with my expertise. They said, you looked like you were easy to talk to and you smiled a lot. Yeah. Like that's what it was, really. I mean, I was shocked, right? But to your point, you use the word bubbly, right? That is, I think, how a lot of people would describe me. Yeah. Is that like I'm energetic, cheerful, whatever. And I'm approachable. Yep. And I can talk to anybody. So like for the person that appreciates that, they're going to reach out. Yeah. Now, what's really cool is when you tap into who you are, is it also repels the people that don't like that. There's a lot of people that don't like bubbly. They want to the point, right? So I don't want to attract those people into my business because then they're not going to be satisfied with my service anyway. Yeah. Because we wouldn't be aligned. So it's like, it's good when you figure this out because not only do you become magnetic, but you also keep the people away from you that really aren't going to like your style. Yeah. Right.
And like the good thing about it too is it's really good that you said like the reason why they bought from you and it had nothing to do with transaction. It had to do with nothing of that. They either relate to you and want to work with you because they're that same type of person. Right. Or more importantly, they want to be like that.
That's good. Yeah.
Because like that's where value comes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, I think, especially as we're talking to, and we talk about this all the time, but that overthinking is it's like, we have to almost figure out where's the balance between being in like, I guess, like a flow state of creativity, and then also having some strategy behind what we do, because that is involved, right? If you're a content coach, you are strategizing, you're analyzing the data. But it's also just being free to try new things, I think, and not overthink it so much that you're paralyzing yourself.
Yeah, like I think where you find the balance when it comes to creating content, it's when you're not dependent on this content to like as an extra strategy.
So you're detached from the outcome in a way.
You're detached from the finances.
Okay.
People want to do so like without people saying it, because I've talked to hundreds of people.
They all want to monetize.
That's the only reason why we're on social media.
Well, for some people. Yeah. But see, that's why actually, good point. So I like to tell people the only way they can sustain content creation, and this, because this is what I believe, is if it's attached to their purpose, not just their career purpose, right? Or financial goal. But like, if you get to the end of your life, what are people going to say about you and how you affected them? Was that they watched a video of you and you were bubbly and smiling and it made them cheerful that day? Like that would make me happy. Or if it helped them to believe in themselves or spark something in them like that, like that's going to make me happy. So like, I'm going to keep creating content because it's an expression of who I am. And as long as I express who I am and how God made me, then I can shine that light on someone else to see it within themselves. So then you can keep going. And then if you make money in the process, which obviously you would if it was attached to a business, then it's a win-win.
And I think for you, the reason why content probably came like not so easy, but you've created some success outside of social media, which was like real estate. Like not saying you got to be a millionaire. Yeah. Not saying like as long as you can sustain your life. Yeah. You're not so tied towards like I need to do social media to get me out of my situation. Right. So because anytime it feels forced. Yeah. Or like you have to do this thing, and that's a great thing to mention, because how many people do you talk to? I mean, I know I do. Yeah, it's like I have to do this. I have to do that. They look at that as the ultimate like get out strategy. Like I see YouTubers making the same amount as me. I see people that are doing X, Y, and Z with like products and reactions and couple pages and everything like that. But I'm saying, hey, they got their situation based off of their blessing, because God knew that they probably couldn't do what you had to go through. So like that's not duplicatable for everybody, but we got to understand social media is a long-term game. Yeah, preach. I've had Instagram since 2011 and it took me until 2020 to actually start getting recognition, start getting clients and all of these things. But I had to figure out myself, like just like we talked about, what am I known for? What am I good at? But these things develop. Like I always thought I was going to go to the NFL. Yeah. And then from the NFL, I started selling life insurance. I thought I was going to sell life insurance forever. Yeah. And then when I realized this, I'm like, deep down, I really want to create films. I enjoy storytelling. Like, I feel like I'm very good at that. So like, what does that turn into? Because I got into the insurance industry, I started understanding how to generate leads for business owners. And once I understood that, it changed my business. It changed what I do. And it's getting me closer to my purpose, because now I'm full-time creator for multiple business owners. So you had to go through all those different things. I had to self-develop. All of those were part of the process. Yeah. To get you where you are. Yeah. Because people look at like, okay, how do you be successful on social media? They think it comes from like looking the best or like knowing the most people. It comes from knowing sales, knowing yourself, and knowing the value you provide. Right. So like I had to get into insurance to understand like sales, learn communication with people, learn psychology. Yeah. Because that goes into script writing. That goes into like the way that you talk, the way you convey, like, and content is a lot more like harder than people think. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is hard. Well, I think it's hard when, I think the main thing, honestly, is if you don't know yourself.
Yeah.
Like, because if you don't know yourself, then, and you're just creating something that someone told you, maybe you're getting scripts, right? Let's just say.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel authentic to you and who you are. You're not going to keep doing it. If you're not passionate about the message, then you don't have that like conviction behind what you're saying. And so people can feel that.
Yep.
And then you're going to get frustrated because it's not going to perform well. So then you're going to take that on, right, as part of your identity. Like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
And it's not that at all. It's that you're not being the fullest expression of you.
Yeah.
You're trying to be someone else. So you have to like remove the mask and just be you. And then it'll do well.
And like, it's the same thing. So like for me, I was the type of person that had a bunch of jobs, a bunch of things. Like I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do.
Same.
Because I seen it within my family. They stuck with something.
I got put down for that, right?
Oh,
so that was
we all
like,
did.
That was a no-no. Like, oh, what's Kate doing now? What's she doing now? It's like, well, I'm trying to find my purpose.
We're trying to figure it out. And like for the people that are actively going through that right now, I want to tell you, it's going to start by, so like, this is a true story.
Yeah.
I went from being a mall cop, being working at factories like meat factories.
Oh wow.
I went from cleaning shoes at the mall to the people that do all of this crazy stuff. And I know my family looked from, hey, a guy that's like ranked in football, like successful. They thought I was all going to college. I didn't go to college.
Me neither.
And like back to the people that are going through this, I'm going to tell you, for me, it started with Jamar doesn't have it figured out. We need to help Jamar. Like, we don't know what he's doing. He needs to get back into football.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is they're portraying their limited beliefs off of what they went through. But I'm here to tell you what it sounds like now is like, oh, we got to ask Jamar about this.
I know, right? We
need Jamar to help us with this.
Isn't that interesting how that happens?
But I don't want people to be bitter because it happens. Express it and like receive that, because like you're moving in your purpose now when you realize that.
Stand tall in your decisions. Because that's one thing I did too. So I went from, I like how you mentioned yours. I want to say mine too, so people can understand. Like it can take a while, right? So worked at Starbucks. Then I got my cosmetology license. I wanted to do hair, worked for a celebrity hairstylist. I did that. Then I stopped doing that. Then I went to, I worked for Xerox. I sold Xerox copiers. Okay. Sold real estate. I worked for a fitness company. Trying to think. I think I'm missing some. I mean, I did a lot of different things, right?
I didn't name all of them either. It was just so many.
But it was like, it was always, oh, what's she doing now? Can't keep up with her. Oh, I had a bow company too that I started when my kids were little, like I made headbands and things, whatever. But that's okay. Like, it is totally okay. You don't just wake up and you just, this is my career. That's not how it goes. And how many people are doing something they don't love because they're just afraid of change?
And it's because the system that we're in, because when we're in school, like, what do they tell us to figure out before you graduate? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
The question shouldn't be, what do I want to be when I grow up?
No.
The question should be, what skills do I want to develop before I get like into the real world?
Right.
Because like, if someone would have told me,
what am I naturally gifted at?
Yep.
Like how beautiful if when we were in school, they focused on that, right? Like what is Jamar really good at?
Yeah.
Oh, Jamar's really good at like sports. So he's like a really good leader, team player, and he's great at talking to people.
Yeah.
And he can make a fantastic film or whatever. I don't know.
And like, not to 100% blame the system, because if someone would would have said like what you just said when I was
you wouldn't have
in
believed
5th grade, it wouldn't have been true, because I wasn't the person that I was then.
Good point.
That I am now.
That's a great point.
So like, that's why I say, what skills do you want to be good at?
But what part of you was always there? Because I know for me, my entire life, from the time I was a little girl, I was always good at talking to people. I always had great relationships.
My biggest thing was, so like in the beginning, it was always like, if I put time into something, I'm going to grow confidence.
So you were dedicated.
Big time. And like what that turned into, like dedication was my first like strongest skill because like for me.
And you said strong earlier too. Yeah. You said strength.
Dedication because like my dad would always make us do push-ups before football practice and after football practice. Yeah. So like that turned into dedication because one thing that I struggled with that I really wanted was confidence. Yeah. I was like 120 pounds before I hit middle school. Oh, really? So like what happened is like I told my dad, like, I don't like the way I look. I don't like I'm not strong. Like I was telling myself things that wasn't true. So like what my dad taught me was discipline. And like that discipline turned into confidence. Yeah. So then like a lot of people probably thought it was arrogance, but I'm like, you didn't see where I started. Right. So like mine was like confidence going into like middle school and like.
Well, and you were different, right? Yep. You were smaller than the other boys. Is that what you're saying?
No, I was huge in middle
120
school.
pounds? That's not very much.
No, like 120 pounds in like elementary school.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, that's kind of small. Like, no. So you were kind of chunky.
Yeah, I was a big boy.
Okay. So yeah, that made you feel, so I had, well, I guess it's kind of red now, but I had like super red hair when I was little. And I hated it. I hated it so much because everyone would say something. Oh, your red hair. Like, and I used to hate that attention. Right. It's kind of funny now because now we help people try to get attention. It's like, it's good if you're different. But I just remember as a kid, I hated that. And same with you. If you were different, then you hated it. Yeah. Now everyone's trying to stand out and be different. Isn't that funny?
That's a crazy thing.
Like we're spend all this time trying to fit in, and like the people that stand out are the ones that create amazing personal brands, right? Yeah. But you got to be standing out by being who you are, not trying to create something that's not you. But yeah, so how does somebody develop confidence? A dedication, and what else?
I would say confidence is built over small achievements.
Yeah.
Meaning good. Like people try to build confidence overnight and just like see results instantly. Yeah. But like for me, like back to the point, like the more that I had dedication, like the confidence started to build over time. Like it's delayed gratification. Yeah. So like people got to understand, like in order to be confident, you have to be consistent in something.
That's good.
And like whatever you're consistent in, I tell people all the time, you can do anything that you want to do, but understand like you have to put 10,000 hours into anything that you want to do. Once you put 10,000 hours into something, then you can say, am I good at it or am I not?
Yeah. How many days is that? Would you say? Let me do a calculation.
Yeah, let's do that. I think it's around like 432 days or something like that.
So that's like, over a year. Okay. So 24 hours. Yeah. 416.
416 days.
So that's,
So like when people understand
365 days in a year, and then,
So like people, like once you understand that of like, I can't say that I'm not good at something unless I put 10,000 hours into it.
That's
because
great.
In today's society, we think, oh, in 90 days, my life's going to change. Right. No, 10,000 hours. Understand the 10,000 hour method and you'll be great at it. So like for me, I started in photography. 6 years strong. Like I started with Canon, and like the biggest thing that I was scared at as a creator is like doing video. I'm like, pictures are already hard enough. Like you telling me that I got to keep this same quality for a video. Yeah. But then when I realized, it's like, okay, cool. Let me try it out. Yeah. So what did I do? I didn't go on my own like ability of like, let me figure it out. I paid for mentorship. Sure. So like I got a mentor right now that's taught me everything about video editing, color grading. And like he had a course that I paid for. Yeah. And like when I look at coaching, before you go jumping into coaching classes, look at their life. Yeah. Look at their work. Yeah. So like my mentor works for the Lakers. So like this was like a year and a half of like not knowing anything about editing, not knowing anything about video. And what that turned into is like, I feel like I'm one of the best cinematographers now in Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. I mean, I've only seen a speck of your capabilities so far, and what I've seen has been phenomenal.
And like that's what I'm going to work on too. So like what I've realized, so like confidence comes in every single thing in your life. And like for me, I limited myself to only doing fitness content, but now what I'm challenging myself to do actively, and like everybody's about to see it, is I'm going to start putting my work out of what I actually do.
Yeah. I'm excited for that.
Oh, it's going to be a beautiful thing. People can get a lot of it too.
Yeah. You know what I think too with confidence is like, you never fully have confidence, like ever. I don't think anybody just like is like, I'm completely confident. But I think when you focus on serving others instead of yourself, maybe, because I feel like when I think of my students, and I create, like I'm like thinking through my mind, like when I create something that I'm always thinking of the student first or how it can help them, then I feel more confident when I speak about it than if I'm just like trying to think of, I guess, just me. That's when I get stuck.
So like confidence can definitely be guaranteed. Yeah. But again, it comes through being consistent. So like for you, how long have you been posting content now?
Yeah, a long time. I mean, gosh, probably since...
Like not just posting content in general, but like where you're at right now, intentionally, how long have you been posting?
It's been almost 5 years.
Almost 5 years now?
Yeah.
So like just imagine like if we were able to track like 10,000 hours from there, because like you might have like been past 10,000 hours like a while ago.
Yeah.
But that confidence is going to grow over time to a point where like 5-10 years from now, Kate's not going to say like confidence isn't really guaranteed. It's like, no, I know I have confidence based off the people that I helped, my story, and like what I've done, like what I've created.
That's true. But I think you always have this, there's always something else, right? There's always like, because, okay, that in that area, maybe you're confident, like you've conquered that, right? But then maybe there's a new thing, there's a new level. Maybe it's speaking on stages. So then you're like, which that's something that I want to do. And I've done a little bit of it already, which I'm so grateful for. The reason that I love doing that is because it's the same thing as like creating content. If when you are in person and in front of people and you can inspire them to expand their thinking, expand their vision through your story and your vulnerability, there's nothing better than seeing their eyes open and see like possibilities of what their life could be. Yeah. And I just love that. Like, it's not even about, because I think sometimes people are like, oh, you're just so self-centered. You want to be on stage or you want to be an influencer. It's like, no, you know,
you just really want to show people that went through the same things as you that it's possible.
Yes. Because that's what I had. I was inspired by so many people. I mean, the list goes on. I have a list in my phone. One of my favorite creators, though, is Jen Gottlieb. I love her. She talks about, you know, believing in yourself, facing your fears, doing one thing that scares you every day, confidence, like all that stuff. And I used to listen to her stuff all the time. Bob Proctor. Do you listen to Bob Proctor?
Bob Proctor's
love Bob Proctor. And he talks about, you know, finding what you love, right? And manifesting your dreams and all these things. And so like all these people, Ed Milet, right? Like they all planted seeds within me. And if they didn't have the courage to show up, I wouldn't have been inspired by them. Yeah. So like, I just think maybe confidence comes from courage too, I would say. Confidence
comes from like so many different things. Yeah. Like courage, faith. Yeah. And like results. Like people need to see results. And like whether that's financially, whether that's like spiritually, like they have to see some type of result. Yeah. And like, just like we said, like them small wins, them small results that keep getting bigger, and we get something like called the compound effect.
Yeah. That's a book, right? Yep. Isn't that a book? Mm-hmm. What does it say in that book? I don't think I've read it. Is it kind of what you're saying? Just like little things over time?
Yeah. So like one of the things when they talk about compounding, like I learned this really big from like life insurance. Okay. So like one of the practices that they told me.
That's the other thing I did. That's what I forgot. I sold life insurance too. Oh, remember when we were going through the things? I'm like, I'm forgetting something. That's what it was. Okay.
So like one of the things that I've learned from life insurance that like implements the compound effect is I heard somebody say, let's say we're talking about the stock market, right? And let's say you had $100 And let's say the stock market drops 50%. What do you got?
50.
And let's say the stock market goes right back up. What do you
100.
got? Yep. And when people say that, 98% of people say, I got $100. And like I tell people, that's the reason why the U.S. is in debt. Because
so what do you have?
Let's break it down.
You got me.
If I got $100 and I lose 50%,
okay,
I got $50.
Yeah.
If the market goes back up 50%, I got 50% of $50, which is 25.
Good.
So what I tell people is anytime that you lose something, you got to work twice as hard to get it back.
Oh my God, that's good. That's good. Say that one again. That was good.
So,
anytime you lose something, you got to work twice as hard to get it back.
Anytime that you lose something, whether it's money, whether it's relationships, you got to work twice as hard because you're going based off of where you're at and not where you've been.
Okay, so does that apply to like, say, because I hear this all the time. I've been so consistent posting content, right? I've been so good. And then I fell off for a month. And then they're like, just can't, get back into it. Just can't get back into it.
So people that say that they lack vision. So like I always try to tell people when you get into content, you have to understand your vision. It doesn't have to be 100% direction. I understand exactly what I need to do, but you have to have a sense of idea of like, why do I want to do this? Because that's what's going to keep you consistent.
Right.
A lot of people that get so like these principles apply everywhere.
Yeah. People
that want to get in shape, what do? They go to the gym. Once they start seeing results, guess what they do?
Give up.
Well, no, like when they don't see results, they give up. Yeah. But when they start seeing,
even when they do see results, then they don't give up.
Yeah, like people do get complacent. You're right.
Yeah.
But like the people that have been through so much that almost gave up, when they start seeing it, it's just like, it's a feeling you can't explain. But that's the same thing that can go towards like content. Like once you start seeing people DMing you like, you've changed my life. Like
that's where it changes. I think that's the secret. And like, if you use the workout analogy, this is my thought. And you see this all the time. People lose weight, they gain it, lose weight, it's a yo-yo, right? Because they're only focused on the exterior of how they're going to look.
Yeah.
The people that sustain weight loss, in my mind, and I'm not a weight loss expert.
No, yeah.
They change the identity of who they are. So is my identity aligned with eating McDonald's every day? Is that the kind of person that I want to be known as? Or am I a high value person that respects my body, puts healthy things into it, for the most part, or they tie it to their identity.
Yeah.
And usually when you do that, that's when things change. But when it's just, I want to fit in these jeans.
Yeah.
You might get to fitting in the jeans, but can you keep it off?
Yeah.
Well, only if you believe that you are a healthy, fit person, in my mind. Because people that get the surgery, right? And then they lose all the weight, but they're still incredibly insecure.
Yeah.
Because they still identify as a overweight person. That's my thought. I don't know. I think it's like identity.
No, that's the biggest thing. And like that goes back to why they're doing it. If they're not doing it for themselves, it's a deeper reason why. And like what's going to break that for the people that people that struggle with identity, they have to understand the relationship and how God looks at them.
Ooh, yeah.
And like once you understand that, like, okay, so let's do it like an example.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's say a fitness person, because we're talking about fitness. Let's say a fitness person never shows their struggles. They just show that they're consistent. They got a six pack. They got everything. Yeah. Who do you think is going to have more influence? Them or somebody that overcame cancer or was 400 pounds and worked to 212 pounds because they're embracing what they've been through?
Or how about the young boy that was chubby? Like that didn't feel confident. Yeah. Maybe was picked on. I don't know. Did kids say mean things to you?
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
What'd they say to you?
They would say things like tubby tub. Yeah. They would make fun of like that I stutter and things like that. But what I realized is because I didn't create that to be my identity. Yeah. And what happened now, like looking back 20 something years now, these people follow me. They watch everything that I do. They ask a lot of questions. They be like, I knew that guy. Like, things like that. And like, there's nothing wrong with that. The reason why I say that is I embrace what they've seen me as because that wasn't them that was saying that.
Right.
Like, insecurities and ego doesn't come from God, nor does it come from us. So we can't blame the spirit.
Right.
We can blame the flesh. So like what they've been through is why they're doing that. Not what they want to feel, because they know they want to feel something that's pure. So we can't blame them based off of things that they've said.
Yeah.
We can only say like, hey, even though you said all of them things, look where I'm at now. Not to like showboat it, but look, see, because you said that has like driven me to like become better. Yeah. But like, this is what you need to work on. And I'm okay with helping you every step of the way. Yeah. I think when people see that, they're just like, why is this guy like this? Like, I treated him like crap, but he's just like still a loving person. Yeah. Would tell me.
Because you don't hold that bitterness in your heart.
Why would I?
But I mean, by you sharing that story, to me, if I heard that story and then I see you today, right? And I see that you're fit and healthy and thriving. And if I was like you, you know, as a young person, I'm going to be listening.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's going to speak right to my heart. And I know that you know my pain versus somebody that hasn't been through it. Yeah. You know, because anyone could just follow their recipe in the weight loss or what's it called? Fitness program. But only some people can know your pain. Right?
Yeah. It's only like pain is created through experience, and like that's how you relate to people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I love talking about this stuff because it's like, I don't know, it's just cool to see how we like interact as humans and how honestly like one conversation can change your life or one video.
Yeah, like I think what you're doing now is like huge. Because like this is a different approach when it comes to podcasts, because like people like to talk about what they've been through and like glorify like what they've done. Yeah. But this is specifically for people that struggle and like having a safe space to like relate.
Yes, a safe space for sure. Yeah. I love that. I like the way that sounds. That'd be a good podcast name too.
Safe space.
A safe space. Yeah. Well, you know what I don't like. I really don't like this. When people just talk about, I don't know, like if we got on this podcast and we literally only talked about like strategies on content and like that's it, you know, because it's kind of just not very deep. And I just really don't like, I mean, we could talk about that stuff, but like, how do we go like layers deep?
I think people got to focus on not making the content good, but becoming a better content creator. Because like that's the business that I'm in.
More becoming, less doing.
Yep. Because the better you are at communications, the better you are at selling a product or a service. People are like, you're the magnet at that point.
Yeah, become magnetic. I learned something in a class that I took, and it was about how to be, right? Like how to just be. Because what do we learn early on? You said it earlier. What do you want to be when you grow up? Yeah. Right? But that's attached to your career. Yeah. But like, what kind of person do you want to be? Yeah. And to your point, what do you want to be known for? Yep. Like, what do you want to be known for? How do you make people feel? Not what do you do? Not like all this external stuff, but like what's going to stay in like you, the impact you had on me forever, like would be in my heart of you saying to me, you know, like getting me to think differently. Kate, well, think about this. Well, why this? Why that? And how do you want to make, you said it out there. How do you want to make people feel? Yeah. What are people going to feel when they watch your content? Like you just talking to me like that and like pouring into me. That's what stays in here.
Yeah. Because like people got to look at it from the standpoint of like, just like we talked, like money is a byproduct of who you serve. So like if you focus on like, I'm going to be the greatest servant in the world. Yeah. You're going to have the most influence in the world. Yeah. You're going to have the most ability because people will be able to do anything or like run through a wall with you.
Yeah.
So like the biggest currency is relationships.
Yeah.
And like once people understand that, like we haven't like known each other for longer than 5 months, but it's just like without me like having to say or like edify myself, like I know Jamar is like he has knowledge on what he does. I can trust him. Things like that, because like I'm just genuine in like everything that I do.
Genuine always wins. That's one of my favorite quotes.
Genuine always wins. I like that.
And you're right. You know, I don't really care. I don't need you to sit here and show me every client success story. I really don't, because I can feel your heart.
Yeah. And like,
that's what does it
I think
for me.
Like, I think for me, it's not even about like what I've helped these clients grow to or like how much money I've made them, but like just more importantly, just to talk about like some of the relationships. Like I love when they start having confidence and like they're enjoying the process. They're laughing. They're like, this guy just reached out to me and like wants to get me on this.
Oh,
and
I know. That's the best thing ever, right?
That's what I get satisfaction in, of like, yeah, like the money's great. Like,
yeah,
that's cool to edify, but it's just like, they'll never forget, like, I was here before and now I'm here because I started working with Jamar.
Right.
Because when you start building relationships that way, that's longevity. But if you create transactional relationships of like, oh, this person helps me make this, because guess what happens? We know what numbers look like, up and down. So if you build relationships off of transactions, it's going to always be up and down.
Yeah.
And once you start creating like real relationships and like genuine things that are bigger than money, like it's like you're edifying and helping that person grow, pouring into them, just like you said.
Yeah, I want people to hear that. I really do, because we both talked about how we had many different career changes over the years. And I know for me, and I'm sure the same is true for you, didn't matter what career we were in. We met people in all of those. Yeah. We focused on each individual relationship as it presented itself. We connected. And those relationships probably, I know for you, they did for me, served me, and they still serve me to this day. Yeah.
The biggest thing that people can understand is if you can learn from everybody, you'll 10x your success.
Right.
Very, very fast.
So don't dismiss people just because maybe that's not the career you want to be in. Like,
and even if it's positive or negative.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's say someone's negative and like you're like, I can't receive anything from them. You actually did receive it from them, because guess what you received? You received what you don't want to be.
Right. Right. So like just take all of that in and learn from it. And don't ever take one relationship for granted. I think that's big. I really do. Like I watched this happen so much, especially at Starbucks. You know, people are like, oh, I'm just doing this while I'm going to school. I'm just doing this or that. So they would be so disconnected.
Transactional.
So transactional. Yes. And you don't know who is on the other end of that trend. You don't know. That could be somebody that, I mean, this is honestly how this can go down. Say that's a doctor or somebody that down the road, you have a question about their particular specialty, and that could save the life of a loved one. I don't know. Every connection will count.
Yep.
Why do you think they're standing in front of you just accidentally? I don't believe that. No. I believe every person is put there for a reason.
And people have to understand that you're one relationship away.
Yes.
From success.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Like, what does Steve Jobs say? You can't connect the dots looking forward, only backwards, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. But it's true. And that's why you got to embrace every single connection. Like, there is so much power in human connection. And the more people can understand that, the more their lives will change for the better.
I really just hope that doesn't go over people's head, because like that's the secret to success on everything.
Human connection. Yeah, I agree. 100%.
The better they get at that, the better they like self-develop in relationships and like psychology.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing.
No, I love it. So I'm so excited that you came all the way here from Baltimore. Yeah. And you're going to be back for WealthCon, right?
Absolutely.
So we can do more of this.
WealthCon gave me so much perspective, because it shifted my mind from being active in my business, like from like creating the content, editing the content.
Yes.
And like what I realized, like just growing my clientele, I'm like, I'm limiting myself because I'm trying to do it all myself.
Right.
And what I realized is like my real value, just hearing from like you, Ryan, is you have to coach on what you're very good at. So now like what I'm going to do is like start a whole coaching program on like the art of creating content.
And I love it.
And like more so understanding how these platforms pay. Because if you don't understand how they pay, what are the requirements, you don't know what to track.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is, once you understand the art of content creation, once you understand how these things pay, the biggest question is, how do I sell it now that I know it? So like now that we solidified that, working with you guys, like it's a beautiful thing. And I can't wait to see off of this talk where we're at like a year from now.
Well, I have a very strong feeling that we're going to help a lot of people together. Yeah. And we're going to change a lot of lives, and we're going to be doing some big things, and not just for ourselves, right? But what I know about you, and this is what I like about you, and this is true for me, is like I'm very generous, and I am not attached to money. So the more that I have, the more opportunities we have, the more money, the more opportunities we can give. 1,000%. And so that is what is really cool, because I love to give back. I love to help more people, and I want to help as many people as possible believe in themselves. Yeah. Because there's nothing worse. I mean, it makes me so sad when I see people like just telling me all the reasons why they can't do something. Like, who said that? Who told you that? Who made you think that you can't do that?
Whoever they were associated with. You
know, but it's not true. And you don't have to believe that story anymore. You just got to write a new one. Yep. So I want to just, help people write and tell the stories that they want their lives to be. I mean, we did it, right? Yeah. So it's possible. Gosh, you guys just blow me away. You and Mike, you're pretty
Thank you.
Amazing.
Wasn't always like this.
Yeah, but I mean, you really like leaned in, you trusted, and here you are today. And you're, I mean, I don't want to, well, no, I do want to say, how old are you?
25.
25. It's amazing. Yeah. You're very emotionally mature. Yeah. So why do you think that is?
Because I was very emotionally broken. Oh. And that came from everything, like finances, spirituality, I haven't genuinely learned my relationship with God until I met Mike. Yeah. And Mike didn't point to himself for the satisfaction. He taught me how God looked at me. And once I understood that, it was knowledge that didn't come from any book that I could read, didn't come from any person. He puts that information in once we receive it. And it's I've never felt a sense of peace that I feel now. And that's where it comes from. So people might always look Jamar is just so mature, he has it figured out. And I tell him yes, I'm very mature by God's grace, but I don't have it figured out. The only thing I have figured out is God's on my side.
Yeah. Well, I know that to be true. When you have him on your side and you dedicate yourself to building that relationship. Yep. Miraculous things happen.
Just stand on a straight line of if it's in his will. Yeah. I don't care what it is.
So true. Yeah. I've had the best blessings in the last year and a half. And that was when I got very intentional about my prayers.
Clarity.
Yeah. I know. To wrap it up, clarity. So, okay. Well, I'm excited for more of these. And are you going to start a podcast too?
Yeah. Well, we're actually going to start a podcast more on what I'm going to coach on. Okay. And our whole goal is just helping people find their identity. Yeah. And just finding the courage that God wants them to have. So I want to tie what I know, but tying faith into everything.
I love that.
Because that's what drives me. That's what wakes me up. That's my why. Once people understand God chose me, and he not to get spiritual or
no, say it. God chose me.
God sent Jesus down here and treated him like a sinner so he could treat us as if we're perfect. And when I understood that, I'm just man, he believed in me before I even knew myself.
Right.
So with me doubting, with me caring about what people of the flesh like think about me, that's discrediting his word, and that's why people feel like that.
Ooh.
Because once you discredit his word and no longer believe in him, you believe in other people that have no power. So that's why people feel lost. That's why they feel emotionally broken, because they're dependent on something that doesn't have power.
Wow. Yeah. So lean in
and don't lean on your own ability.
Yes.
Nor from a human. And just learn the word. Read the word, but don't just try to read the Bible like page for page. Pray first. Pray in prayer, thanksgiving, and supplication of what do I want to receive? What do I want my life to look like?
One of the best, because look, I can tell you, and I told Mike on our podcast, I don't spend a lot of time reading the Bible.
Yeah.
I don't. But I can tell you this one prayer that I pray.
Yeah.
And it's, God, use me however you want to use me to help people.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like, I'll trust you. And things have, he uses me. He puts me in front of people that it's amazing. It could be a DM, somebody that's sad. Honestly, this has happened to me. Somebody that's sad, feels depressed, needed somebody to talk to and didn't have anyone.
Yeah. And
I told him, use me. So that's what he does in all different ways. But it's very open, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like, but I trust you. Just use me, whatever. Put me in front of the right people that need me, and then put the right people that I need in front of me.
And with where you're at now, so with people which that struggle with that. So with you doing that, let's say 10 years ago, 5 years ago from now, how do you feel now? With seeing the results of
it changed my life completely. I mean, it's night and day. I was working at Starbucks. Professionally, that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
Two totally different things. I mean, a complete career shift. Personally, I have way better relationships. I used to be very fake. I used to present perfection, I guess. Oh, everything's perfect. Everything's great. Inside, it wasn't. But I used to think I had to do that. And I used to be a people pleaser. I used to not have an opinion. And I used to be very afraid of standing up for myself. And once I learned how to remove the mask, this is me, these are my flaws. I don't have my life figured out. And God, I'm just gonna surrender to you. I can't control any of this anymore. I give up. I give it all to you and use me however you want. And then my life changed.
That's a clip. Clip it.
But seriously, that's what it was.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing.
I don't know. Isn't it crazy what he can do through us?
Yeah.
I mean, that is why I'm sitting right here. I have the prayer in my phone. I have a ton of them.
Yeah.
But I said, and I was in such a dark place at this time. I'll never forget this. I mean, I was crying. I was begging him.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know why you're doing all this to me. I was kind of being a little bit of a victim, not gonna lie. Why is this happening to me? Divorce, starting over, having to figure all this stuff out, feeling like a terrible mother because the family is falling apart, and so all these things. And I just said, put me with these with the right people. Put me in the right environment. Because not only do I need money to support my family, because that was on my mind, right? And I was scared. But I need a support system. I knew that in my heart that I needed that. And the next day I got a phone call about this opportunity.
That's what you call divine connections.
Yeah. But I had to trust it too, because it didn't really make sense to take that.
And you also had to take some type of action.
I did, but I had to be courageous. See, this is why you have to develop these, you have to become aware of what your self-limiting beliefs are. So I had to become aware that I was fake. I had to become aware that I was scared, and that I was weak. I had to have an awareness around those things. Now, for me, the way I got that is I went to an emotional intelligence leadership training. That's where I uncovered those things. Took me doing some very, very deep work, facing childhood trauma through many exercises and different things. That's how I became aware of that. I did not know that before. But once I did, and I learned how to change the behavior when you go to default mode, because we all have these default modes that we go to because we've been conditioned our whole lives. So once I learned how to change that and shift, then things started to change. So I had to be courageous to stand up for what I felt was right. So when this opportunity presented itself, I had all these people telling me, that doesn't make sense. Don't do it. But I knew in my heart, I had the discernment to know this was the path I needed to follow. And I also had the courage to say, this is the path I need to follow. So I don't really care what anyone says because God told me I have to follow this path. So... but that just, all had to come over time. Yeah. But once you do that, once you start being what's the word I was thinking about? I was thinking about this the other day. Like when you just make a decision and you don't, maybe it's just like, is it conviction? I don't know. What's the word where you just make a decision? I would jump right back to the word clarity. Is it clarity? And that's what builds the confidence that doesn't come from anybody else. Okay. Because just like you said, nobody can't tell you. Yeah, I just knew. Yep. This is where I have to go. Yeah, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know what it's going to look like. It may not work out. I don't know. Yeah. But I just feel that that's where I need to go. That's the next step. I think people need to trust themselves. Yeah.